Hello and welcome back to art class. Today is a 1 week project, so you only have this week to do it. It's not a super difficult project, that's why it's a 1 week. We've done some long-term projects and I'd like to do a nice short one for you. All right, so what we're gonna be doing today is we're gonna be working with something called contour line drawing, or contour lines, I should say. And contour lines, as you can see in some of my examples here that I'm showing you, are lines that actually make up the picture, where instead of using shading to try to get the look of a 3D, they're using lines to do that. So like in this first one here that you've been looking at is a shark and some markers and a banana, and it looks like a vase of some kind. Okay, or it could be a science thing. Anyway, the lines are all there. There's not really any shading going on in this picture. The lines, the curves of the lines, the straight lines, that's all what gives it the 3D look. In the next picture, this one's a little bit more dramatic, and that one is going to be it's a cat actually, or a bat. I'm not really sure if it's cat or bat, but again, you're using the person is using lines to get the look of the 3D. They're not really doing much in the way of shading except inside the mouth. Which is actually a little odd compared to everything else because it's all done with lines. Again, it's the waviness of the lines, the constant repeating pattern of the design and the lines to create that illusion of a fold or a soft area. And the last thing, which will look a lot like a map because it is, this one is an actual what we call a topographical map. And a topographical map is something that hikers use, and anybody that has to survey the ground, mapping for how high the ground is. So if you're working on the roads and you want to construct a road, you need to know the different levels. And topographical maps use contour lines to show people what the elevation is, or how high the ground is, or how low the ground is. So the one that you're looking at is actually for Starved Rock area. So just to kind of give you a real life use for it. If you're hiking, you use these a lot, so you know if you're going to go up a steep canyon, so you have an idea that to be prepared for those things. If you ever go into the mountains for hiking or camping, you're going to want a topographical map as well, because it does tell you whether or not you're going to have to go up the side of a mountain or you're going through a valley. Okay, so what are we gonna do? Well, we're gonna create a design, a very simple design, and I'll give you two examples here. Here's one that I did in orange. It's a repeating design over and over again. And I'll give you another one that's done in purple here. Okay. I'm gonna be using some materials specifically. You're gonna need 2 pieces of paper. You're gonna need a pencil. You're gonna need eraser, just in case you make a mistake. You're gonna want, I'm gonna do mine in marker. You could do this in colored pencil, you could do it in crayon, but marker's the way I'm gonna go with this one. And you're gonna want a pair of scissors. Okay. Put one sheet off to the side, and you're gonna want the other sheet. The other sheet you're gonna wanna have going in the, what we call the landscape format, which means it's going side to side. And you're gonna just take the top, make it touch the bottom. So it's actually the hot dog fold. Most of you would recognize that. Gonna get it lined up as best you can. And give it a nice good crease, like that. Okay. Then you're gonna use your scissors, and you're just gonna cut on the fold. Okay, you only need half of that, so you're just gonna put the other half off to the side. You're gonna need this. Then what you're gonna do is we need to create the stencil that we're gonna use to trace this several times. So you're gonna need to come up with a stencil. You don't wanna touch the bottom. It's okay if you touch the top, but you do not wanna touch the bottom. And you need to pick a flowing line. It cannot do this. Do not do like a curly Q line, because if you try to cut this out, all you're gonna get is a problem. So you can't crisscross the line. I'm just gonna actually flip this over. And so I'm gonna do a line. something like that. You choose the line, but again, you can't crisscross. Now, just a heads up, anything that overhangs like this, it looks like a little bit like a wave. When it traces, it's going to be very similar to how I did this one right here, where the lines will actually crisscross because of the way we have to trace. And that's normal and to be expected. That's also happening here in that tracing for that one. If you only do a zigzag line, you can see that they don't ever actually touch. All right, so the next thing to do is cut it out. You're going to keep the bottom section. Okay, so I'm going to keep the bottom part because this is the part that I'm going to trace over and over again. All right, so next, what we're going to do is we're going to put this pretty close to the top of the paper, not quite touching, but almost. And it's important that you line up the side of the paper and keep it even with the edge of the paper because it fits perfectly from side to side. And you're going to take your marker, your crayon, whatever you're doing, and you're going to do a simple tracing. Notice as I'm moving down, my hand is moving with it. That way my tracing stays nice and neat and the paper's less likely to move on me. Okay, so there's my first one. And I can see where a spot where I need to go back and fix. Okay. Next, I'm just gonna move it down, and you're gonna have to pick a left side or the right side, and you're gonna move it down about a finger space each time. Do not try to make it even on both sides because what can happen is, see how this on my side here, this side is actually a little bit lower than this side. So that does not mean that they're gonna be evenly spaced. You're just gonna have to kind of eyeball it as you go. So just space on the left or on the right, doesn't matter which, and just keep doing it on the same side each time as you space it. So I'm gonna do mine about a finger space apart, and then I'm gonna draw my next line. Yes, in some spots it may overlap, and that is normal and to be expected. And I'm just gonna repeat this process all the way down until I get close to the bottom. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fast forward this part of it, and so you can see me kind of do it quickly, and then you'll be able to see me what I'm gonna do at the end. Not super difficult, but there are some little steps you gotta watch out for. One helpful tip though, make sure that you're making sure the edges are always on the side and they're not hanging off like this. You're not trying to make an adjustment so it sits perfectly in the middle. Make sure it's just lined up on the edge, and then you're about a finger space on each time using the same side each time that you do that. Okay, once you get close to the bottom, where your line is gonna go off the bottom, that's about where we're gonna stop. So I have one more to put on here, because you can see my next one is gonna put it almost completely off. So that's where I'm gonna stop. So I'm gonna do this one. like that. Okay, so you can see where it goes off there. And what I'm gonna do at this point, like I said, this should be pretty easy. It's just tracing and making sure your spacing's pretty even on there. Then the last step I want you to do is on the bottom empty area here and the top empty area, you're going to color. So take your marker, your crayon, your colored pencil, and carefully go in and color. Do not go into the section. So see how my wave actually goes in here? What I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna stop and not do that part. I'm gonna leave that so you can see those lines crisscrossing. And then I'm just gonna fill in everything else. If you are using markers, use the wide side if you can. It tends to color better and be a little bit more even. Once you have it completed, get your top bottom fully colored in, then you're just going to snap a photo of this and turn it in to Google Classroom. Like I said, this is a one-day project, shouldn't take you too long to do. Just make sure you are doing a good job of spacing and following your lines. Being sloppy with your tracing is it will not end well as an overall look. So snap a photo, upload it to Google Classroom, and I will see you next week.